What you just heard there is the Afterneath pedal from Earthquaker Devices, and to call it a reverb pedal does not really do this pedal justice. Now, if you're like a lot of guitarists, you think of reverb as being kind of a one knob control on your amp. You go to the left for less reverb, you go to the right for more reverb. If you get a chance to sit down and play with the Afterneath, you're going to have a totally different appreciation for how reverb works. So let's take a look at this pedal and let's look at what all it can do. So I have it set up right now for a fairly, what you might think of as traditional reverb setting. All right, like that. Let's walk through the controls one by one. We'll start with the simplest one, which is here in the lower right-hand corner, and that's the mix knob. And like anything labeled mix, it's going to control the mix of your dry to your wet signal. That's pretty straightforward. Let's move over to the upper left and let's start walking through the controls here. The length control is going to control the overall length of the tail of reverb. So I have it set pretty far to the left, which is relatively short. It kind of chops off relatively early. If I move this to the right, you can hear it's a much longer tail of reverb there. So you kind of season to taste with a lot of this. All right, the next knob is the diffuse knob, and that's going to control the spread of the reverb. So to the left, it's going to be kind of a thinner sound, I guess, and to the right is going to be more of a diffuse sound. So I have it set like that to the left. If we go all the way to the right, let's hear the difference. It's a little thicker, and it does kind of play in with the tail a little bit. Let's go back all the way to the left and hear this sound again. If we go here, listen to how it's thicker. It's harder to hear the individual echoes. Now the next control is the dampened knob, and this is going to affect the tone of the reverb. So remember, it's not affecting the tone of the dry signal, it's just the tone of the reverb. Now I have it turned all the way to the left right now, which is going to give you sort of a bassier sound. Now when I turn it all the way up to the right, listen to the tone of the reverb tail. We'll go all the way to the right. And it's a lot brighter. Now I'm playing an American Standard Strat through a Vox AC15. I have plenty of brightness to work with, so I like this turned all the way down for this setup. The next knob is the reflect knob, and this is going to control the amount of reverb regeneration. So if you think a second about how reverb works in the real world, a sound is played and then it echoes around in a space. And sometimes you'll just get a few reflections, and sometimes you'll get a lot of reflections, just depending on the shape of the room and the material and the size and all that sort of stuff. So I have the reflection set, you know, a little less than halfway. If I crank this all the way up, I'm getting more reflections, right? Now, and you can hear it sort of keeps going on and on and on and on. I'll dial that back. Now, that's a little different than the tail. If you're looking for really long reverb, you can crank the reflections up and crank the tail up. And this would probably sound pretty great with volume swell kind of things like this. Now the last one we're going to look at here is the drag knob. And this is, I think, one of the most interesting parts of this pedal. So the way reverb typically works, and the way it works in a lot of units like this, is that they generate a really quick series of a bunch of repeats that kind of mush all over each other, and that gives us this sort of collective sound we think of as reverb. Now I have the drag setting turned all the way to the right, which is going to give us more of a reverb kind of sound. Let me up the mix a little bit, and let's just go to the other extreme and hear what the drag sounds like all the way to the left. So you get this totally different, almost more like a delay sound. And, you know, of course, anywhere in between. Now, what's particularly cool about the drag knob is playing with the knob while you have sound going through the pedal like this. Right? And you can go the other direction too. All right, you kind of get into Radiohead territory at that point. So that is the Afterneath by Earthquaker Devices, a super cool pedal, and like so many Earthquaker devices, experimentation is rewarded. It's got a lot of knobs, a lot of fun things you can do, and just playing with it, you're probably going to stumble upon all kinds of cool new sounds you never knew you could come up with. which is why this is one of these pedals you'll just never get bored of. So come in and check it out at the Seattle Guitar Store if you're in the area, or at your local dealer. Of course, this special artwork was created custom for the Seattle Guitar Store by Earthquaker, and you can only get this in-store at the Seattle Guitar Store or online at seattleguitarstore.com. And while you're at seattleguitarstore.com, be sure to sign up for the free newsletter. This will keep you up to date on a lot of cool in-store demos and clinics that we have running. It's going to give you access to special online-only deals, as well as special contests to win all kinds of cool gear, including this pedal and all of the other pedals that we're showing in the series of the Year of the Pedal. So check us out online.